agree with that. And also, when he said Oscar Robertson, bro, I keep thinking about Russell Westbrook, even though Oscar ain't on that level. I mean, Russ ain't on that level.
He's not, yo. He's not.
I keep thinking about how Elder disrespected Russ coming into this show. But when he said Oscar, Russ's name is always going to be synonymous with Oscar.
Because of the triple-double. That's it.
Doubles.
On up to your bullshit. Yeah, it's about that time. Damn, don't you look foolish? Cause you know, I know, you lying. Yeah, right, yeah, right, yeah, right, stop lying. Yeah, right, yeah, right, yeah, right, stop lying. Confrontation is the conversation. Your contact, erased it, can't take it, no patience. Major mistake is me believing in you and you say shit. I thought you changed, but since you can't, I can no longer take it. Go ahead and face it, plain and basic. Different occasions, gave you my trust in you.
It's FYF Sports, man. It's Lamont. We back, man. We got another podcast episode. We got another debate topic, another reaction video. I think we found another bad take, and that's what we do here at FYF Sports. We got to call out the bad takes when we see them, especially when we know them bad takes are purely crafted and slanted towards keeping players of a certain generation at the top and simply finding ways to knock the players of this generation and keep them down below. We're going to talk about it all today here on FYF Sports, man. Great reaction video coming for you guys. Cannot wait to get into the facts that we got for you, coming for you guys today. Before we get started with today's video, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to our live streaming channel, FYF Sports Debates Live. Make sure you go subscribe to that channel. That's where we handle all of our live streams. We're going to be doing a consistent Sunday night live stream royale where we talk about all of the hottest topics of the week. So make sure you guys tune in to FYF Sports Debates Live. And also, you can tune into that channel to watch our older streams, man. We're going to be broadcasting older streams. So if you miss some of our most popular, some of our craziest, some of our best moments in our older streams, you can always tune in to FYF Sports Live to catch up on some of the craziest moments here on FYF Sports. But today, we got a great video for you guys. And this video is to call out bad takes and takes that I don't know what's going on, man. When I hear some of these takes, I don't know why there's so much hate towards players of today. The hate for players of today in this era, in this generation, is unbelievable. Even though players of this generation are bigger, faster, stronger, more skilled, they do more, they're more versatile than ever before. It's so much hate for players today, irregardless of how great they are. It doesn't matter what they achieve, what they do. When people start to put together these lists, the hate, the bias, and some of the odd takes that they have scrambled into their brains start to leak out. That's what we got to talk about today. Is Steph Curry the greatest point guard of all time? Now, I honestly don't expect anyone or everyone to have Steph Curry ranked as your number one point guard of all time. I mean, obviously you got players like Magic, you got Oscar Robertson, you got Chris Pauls, the Jason Kidds, right? Your flavor, whatever you like to see in basketball, and this varies from person to person. But I think the general consensus, I think just in general consensus or general purpose, I think there are certain players that just have to be in your top five, irregardless of what you think about them, how you feel about them whatsoever. I mean, when you talk about the Steph Currys, when you talk about Magic Johnsons, I think out of all the point guards of all time, those are the two players that definitely need to be in everybody's top five, irregardless of how you feel about them, how you feel about the game of basketball. They are easily the two best point guards we've ever seen in NBA history. And there's absolutely no question, no doubts about it. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a reaction video. So I was watching this clip from the Players Choice Podcast. You guys have seen us react to their video before with TicketTV, but I just watched a clip from Players Choice where Elder, Rufus, and Chill were both giving their take on their top 5 point guards of all time. And I want you to listen to their takes. And I want you to listen to how the bias for this generation just spews out of everything that they say. And just look at what they say their top teams are. And you won't believe who is actually responsible for calling them out on their hypocrisy. And not just that. We're gonna go through, once we hear their take, and I'm gonna give you guys my take on it once I play this video. But once I play this video, I'm gonna give you guys my take on this, just to kind of clarify these things and just kind of to call out and dispel some of the hypocrisy that these guys are spewing. So what they're doing here on the Players Choice Podcast is the question was proposed to Chill and Straightway Georgia Elder Rufus. They ranking the top 5 point guards of all time. And we're going to go ahead and get to the video. And we're going to, like I said, I know this is a reaction video, but what I want to do is I want to play what they said all the way through so you guys can digest it. I want you guys to soak in what they say. I want you to hear it. And then as we normally do here at FYF Sports, we got to give a teaching lesson to both these guys, because we've had Elder Rufus on the channel. Unfortunately, we haven't had an opportunity to get Chill on the show. I will be reaching out though. I want to get him on the show to talk about this, but we've had Elder on the show, and his bias for these older eras just spews. It spews through his pores. It spews through his pores. But the thing is, when it spews that much, when your internal hate for this era just glows and shows so much, you can easily expose yourself when questions like this are asked. Because when a question like this is asked, you now have to be honest. And we're going to see if these two brothers can be honest when they're talking about their top 5 point guards of all time. And I think they both exposed themselves in this conversation for having hate for this generation, while also trying to do everything possible to boost up and prop up players of the past, irregardless of any precedents that's been set. Let's go ahead and get to the video first. Like I said, we're going to play both of their takes on this. Chill's take, his top 5. Elder's take, his top 5. And then we're going to get back and just go ahead and just drop the max ether on them, because again, I'm tired of people slighting players of this generation as if the game of basketball just has not stopped being played after 1995. But let's go ahead and get to the video.
I want to hear your top 5 point guards ever.
At number 5, I got Jason Kidd. At number 4, I got Oscar Robertson. At number 3, I got Isaiah Thomas. Number 2, I got John Stockton. And number 1, I got Magic Johnson. I don't view Steph Curry as a point guard. I put him in the same category with Allen Iverson, Jerry West, James Harden. He's more of a combo guard than he is a lead guard. Add that to the fact that the offense that he plays in doesn't tailor to a lead guard. It's more fluent, and it's more ball movement and more player movement. So I don't view Steph Curry as a point guard. I saw Mark Jackson try to turn him into that, and it really didn't work. And I thought that when he got with Steve Kerr, it was completely different. But those 5 guys, I think, are the best point guards in NBA history. When I think about Magic Johnson, he revolutionized the point guard position. Not only did he revolutionize the point guard position, there is no LeBron James, there is no Luka, there is no big guard without Magic Johnson. And not only is there no big guard, Magic Johnson, what he did for all of the years, he was elite from the minute he came into the door until he retired in 1991. A lot of people say that he retired in 95. Magic retired in 1991. We got robbed 4 years of Magic Johnson and his prime. We got robbed of that. When I think about John Stockton, I think about one of the top five playmakers of all time, one of the top 5 distributors in NBA history. I think that when I think about a guy who was efficient in what he was doing, he wasn't just getting the ball to Malone. He wasn't just getting the ball to other guys. His ability to score the basketball, because a lot of people discount his scoring. You know, John Stockton has plenty of 20-10 games. He has plenty of 30-10 games. He's got more 20-20 games than Russell Westbrook, Kyrie Irving, Dame Lillard, and and Kyrie Irving combined. He's got more 20-20 games. When I think about Isaiah Thomas was that dude from the door, from grammar school to high school to college to the pros. He was that guy right from the beginning. The only knock that I have against Isaiah Thomas, as opposed to John Stockton, he never made the All-League defensive team. Not only did he not make the All-League defensive team, half of his career, he wasn't elite. After the 86-87 season, he didn't make the All-NBA team again. So even though Isaiah Thomas was still awesome and he took the team to the NBA championship and won and was finals MVP, I think about that other stuff too. That stuff is important. When I think about Oscar Robertson, I only got one thing to say about Oscar. He went 30-10-9 for 8 years. Can't nobody say that. Nobody can say that. When I think about Jason Kidd, his ability to speed the game up and be dominant on both sides of the basketball, his ability to distribute, he was the new age, a smaller version of what Magic Johnson was. So that's my reasoning.
Man, I'm in total agreement with Chill Town. The only thing I'm gonna put a spin on is I got the same list. I got it written down to make sure I didn't forget it. The only thing I did was I swapped Isaiah for Stockton for the simple fact I put chips over accolades. I do understand Stockton's got a bunch more accolades and things of that magnitude, but Isaiah was tough as nails, and I agree. He was it coming in through the door, out the door. It didn't matter. So I got much respect for Isaiah, and he did lead his team to chips. So I have to stick him above Stockton. So he's number 2. Of course, Magic, that's not even debatable. He's number 1. Stockton's 3. Oscar's 4, of course. Everything he's saying, I ain't gonna repeat it because I got the same stuff to say. Now, the only other caveat I'll put on it, I have Jason Kidd number 5 because, again, I do agree he was the next best thing to Magic Johnson. But I also have a slash with CP3 right there. I got a lot of respect and honor for what CP3 has done to the game, his efficiency, and all that. He just hasn't won a chip. So that's why I had to put old boy there. So I guess CP3 would be my 5B or 6. But I really got CP3 close to those guys. Even though he hadn't won, and I know he's had some failures, his efficiency, you can't deny, and his floor general and all that kind of stuff. I just like CP3. So I got him up there. But I got Kidd, Oscar, Stockton, Isaiah, Magic, 5 through 1.
Got you. Yo, Fluent, is this list Fluent?
I have a different order, but I have the exact same 5 guys.
Okay.
I got Kidd at 5, Stockton at 4, Isaiah for the same reason about chips, Oscar at 2 though, Magic at 1.
Got you. Ticket. Is this cap?
When he said Oscar Robertson, bro, I keep thinking about Russell Westbrook, even though Oscar ain't on that level. I mean, Russ ain't on that level.
He's not, yo. He's not.
I keep thinking about how Elder disrespected Russ coming into this show. Mm-hmm. But when he said Oscar, Russ's name is always going to be synonymous with Oscar.
Because of the triple-double. That's it.
Triple doubles. But Russ can't do one thing that Oscar did. The problem with Russ has always been he's only got one speed. That's 100 miles an hour.
Go.
Big O could slow it down. If Russ, I equate Russ to a pitcher that only has a fastball.
That's it.
If you get a changeup, he'd be unstoppable. And that's the difference between Russ and Oscar.
All right, there you guys have it right there. Look, you guys generally heard some of the consensus picks that these guys have for the greatest point guards of all time. And they've all found a way to finesse and remove a player like Steph Curry from the greatest point guard of all time consideration. They found a way, even though Steph Curry is listed as a point guard, and Steph Curry has always been listed as a point guard his entire career, they found a way to exclude him from this list. Because they claim he doesn't play the traditional role that a point guard played in the past. This is what they say. But then they fixate their mouths to add a player like Oscar Robertson into their list. a guy who was a scoring guard who carried the scoring load for his team. Essentially a Russell Westbrook prototype. But they want to add him in there and then try to lie to the people and say that Oscar could do a lot more than Russell Westbrook. They claim that Russ only played at 1 speed. This is what they claim. See, I think they believe that we stupid and that we don't do research into these things. That we're not going to look back in time to see what coaches said about these players. Oscar Robinson's college coach said, this player is great. I wish he would slow down and slow the game down and get others involved. According to the traditional nature of a point guard, that don't sound like a point guard according to his college coach. In the NBA, media outlets, and just go look at media outlets constantly hamper Oscar Robinson and claim that he wasn't getting his teammates involved enough to win and that he was focused on scoring too much, which is one of the reasons why he generally struggled in the playoffs throughout his entire career until he teamed up with the likes of a Jerry West and a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar towards the end of his career to win a championship. They have an excuse. They have a built-in excuse as to why Oscar Robinson can score 30 a game with triple doubles. But when TicketTV brings up the fact that Russ is very similar in nature and they find ways to discredit everything that Russ does, even though Oscar and Russell Westbrook had very similar career trajectories. They both, when they were the lone stars on their team, they both struggled in the playoffs mightily. Missing the playoffs for Oscar, losing in the first round a lot as the leader of the team. And Oscar never won until he became a third option behind Jerry West and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He never won anything until then. He had to relegate to being a third role. Remember, when he was that third option, he was only averaging 19 a game, not the 30 that we saw when he was a number one. He wasn't averaging the triple doubles that we saw when he was the primary option on his team. But yet they can fixate their mouths to claim that Oscar was a true point guard, but a player like Russell Westbrook isn't for whatever reason, even though they're similar in nature. I mean, even if we pull up stats, I want you guys to take a look at this graphic right here. If we take a look at this graphic right here, this is Oscar Robinson's best season ever in the NBA compared to Russell Westbrook's best season ever in the NBA. Mind you, these are both seasons where neither one of these players won a championship. Oscar Robinson, 31 points a game. Russ, 31 points a game. Oscar Robinson, 12 assists per game. Russ, 11. Oscar Robinson, 11 assists per game. Russ, 11. Essentially the same. Steals per game. Oscar Robinson, 1 point. Russ even better at 2.1. Blocks per game are essentially a wash. In their best seasons, they essentially did the same thing. But as you heard, they said the difference between Oscar Robinson and Russell Westbrook is the fact that Russ only has 1 speed. How did you guys know Oscar didn't have 1 speed? Did you guys watch Russ? Because I vividly read Oscar Robinson's coach in college say he had trouble slowing him down. He described Oscar Robinson's game as a run and gun style, not this slow down half court, let me facilitate style. His college coach and even his NBA coach both described his style as run and gun. How would you guys describe Russell Westbrook's style? I would describe it as run and gun. And fortunately enough for Oscar Robinson, he played in an era where they didn't count turnovers. So it was hard to track his actual efficiency like we're able to track with Russ, because a lot of people say Russ is high turnover. But how do we know Oscar wasn't high turnover? We can conclude he was possibly high turnover because the success, he didn't have much success when he was the leader of his team. They struggled to make the playoffs. They struggled to even win once they were in the playoffs. He struggled when he was the leader of the team, getting all these triple doubles, just like Russ struggled when he was the leader of his team, getting all these triple doubles. When TicketTV said that they are essentially identical players, he is correct. But are they truly identical players? Do we need to watch some video of Oscar Robertson and Russ to see if their play styles were similar in nature? Hold on. Let's go ahead and go to the video. We just saw it. Oscar Robertson. Do I need to pull that video up and talk about it one more time? Oscar Robertson, one of the greatest of all time, man. Great in his own era. But I want you guys to see basketball how it's played today. And I want you to see basketball how it was played then. And there are more games, full games, clips that you can watch, not just this video right here. Are you honestly going to tell me that this guy right here is better than Russell Westbrook? I want y'all to look. This guy right here. As basketball was played back then, you guys see defense was not as intense. Oscar Robertson was a below the rim player, not as athletic or explosive. The game back then was played at an extremely fast pace where attention to defense did not exist. And you had players like that defending you. You had defensive pressure like that right there. Absolutely zero physicality. Guys flipping and flailing and falling right there off no contact. Probably one of the worst shooting forms in NBA history. Below the rim player on a finger roll, hand don't even touch the backboard. And this is the guy. Because remember, see, what people rely on when they make these lists is they rely on nostalgia and you hopefully just believe in everything that they say about a player. And they hope and pray to God you don't actually do real research on some of these players of old. Oscar Robertson was not just this facilitator who came down the court and tried to set up the offense. Oscar Robertson was a pure scorer that tried to score the ball as much as he could whenever he could. And the numbers show it. He was essentially Russell Westbrook. The problem is, and what most people won't admit, Russell Westbrook just did it better. How do we know this? All we got to do is watch the video.
A 6'3" guard from UCLA, Russell Westbrook! He is Mr. Triple-Double of his generation.
What Oscar did with the triple-double would never happen ever again.
Nope. There's not one guy on this planet who can do it.
I say why not? Westbrook, the hesitation. Oh! Monster jam by Russell Westbrook.
Point guards don't do what he does. They're not built that way. You see him for 8 years do a lot of things that are superhuman.
and I make sure that I impact the game in many ways, rebounding, assisting, whatever it is that my team needs from me. Honestly, believe there's no player like myself.
So, once upon a time, Russell Westbrook didn't have any triple-doubles.
How do you answer that question? What are you, Russell Westbrook?
I'm a point guard. I'm going to try my best and go out and, do what I can for the team and try to help them any way I can.
Terry for three. Nothing. There is the triple-double for Westbrook.
I had to come out, Kevin and Jeff, I had to do everything else to help my team win.
Durant just inside the free throw line. Westbrook, hello!
They see it on TV, but up close and personal, you blink your eyes, he's up and down the floor. He can get a triple-double any night.
What do those triple-doubles represent to you?
I never take anything for granted when I get on the floor. I'm just thankful to play the game I love.
What a pass! What a pass! Play of the day! Russell Westbrook has passed his way into NBA history with his 42nd triple-double on the year. Adams gives it back to Russ. Deep shot! Get it! What a perfect ending to a historic day! Westbrook gives the Thunder the victory at the buzzer.
I only have one more thing to say. MVP!
Gotta appreciate the greatness of NBA players. There are few players that can ever do what Russell Westbrook has done.
It's called Russell Hustle. Westbrook for the win. Got it! Westbrook has entered a special place in history with his 100th career triple-double.
He's in attack mode every play of every game, and that is not normal.
Why not mindset? Just coming out, giving all I have, and just being at a high level.
2020 game, first time since 1968.
You guys see it. You guys see the video. You tell me who did it better. You tell me who was more explosive, who was a more dynamic passer. I want you guys to tell me based on what you see. You guys saw the footage of Oscar Robertson, who struggled to dribble with his face to the rim. Everything was back to the basket. Mostly a right-hand dribbler, a solid jump shooter, but not a dynamic or great jump shooter. Could have potentially been a solid three-point shooter, but we will never know because they didn't play with a three-point line. A guy who scored 30 points per game, but admittedly, Oscar Robertson played in an era where you can't name, if you watch the film, you can't name any elite defenders of that era. They were essentially the same player. Look, y'all, they were essentially the same player. They needed to score because they both played on teams that weren't the greatest. I can give that to Oscar as well. But Russ did the same thing when he was in OKC while he was getting the triple doubles. There was nothing special about those OKC teams. They both struggled to get to the playoffs. And like Russ is on a team now with LeBron James and AD, that's the same thing that Oscar Robertson needed to do to get his championship by pairing up with Jerry West and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But how can, when you listen to these guys on Player Choice, Chill and Elder Rufus, they will lead you to believe that Oscar was somehow just this unique all-time great point guard, and he did it way different than Russ. How? Oscar's coaches described him as a running gun style player. Oscar's college coach said his only flaw was that he gave the ball to the other team too much. Remember, there was no set definition for the turnover because turnovers weren't counted at that time. See, because we live in a day and age where players are judged more intensely, every statistic is count. We have analytics that define efficiency. Players are more heavily scrutinized. So because Russell Westbrook currently plays now, he's highly scrutinized and everybody wants to tear down everything that he does because he hasn't won a championship. And because they want to play on your ignorance. A lot of people never watch Oscar Robertson play. A lot of people won't go back and do the research, and most people will only go to Basketball Reference and look at the stats and see that his numbers were great and that he has a championship, and therefore they can put him in the top 5, and they do absolutely no research into who he was, how he played, and they will just take people like Elder Rufus and Chill's word for it. They're just capping. It's all cap. Oscar was not close to the player that Russell Westbrook was by any means of the imagination. And if people try to use this odd logic, if you put Oscar in this era, this is what they'll say, he would have had the resources to be better. Unfortunately, he didn't play in this era. Unfortunately, he didn't have these resources. And we can only judge him based on what we saw. And when we watch the footage, it don't look right. When we see his accomplishments, or at least how it led to winning, it looks just like Russell Westbrook's. And the only thing that you can tie to Oscar Robertson throughout his career is the triple doubles. That's what made Oscar Robertson great. And the fact that TicketTV had to be the one to call you out on it, and then you guys lie and say that the difference between Russ and Oscar is that Russ can't slow down, he doesn't have this changeup, that's a lie. Because you know damn well you guys didn't watch him play enough to even know that for a fact. I know that. And when we look to what his own coaches said about him, they defined him as a slasher, run and gun style player, not this slow it down facilitator that you wish him to be. This is how you know there's an agenda to try to keep players of this era out of that top 5 list of any category, whether it's point guard, shooting guard, small forward. And so this is one of the reasons. And so if you listen to what they also use, the criteria they use to eliminate a point guard in Steph Curry. Oh, Steph Curry is much more of this hybrid combo guard. Hold on. Do you guys play NBA 2K too much or something? Because the only place I see all of these archetypes is on 2K. All of these hybrid / new, they act like there's 12 positions. Hold on, let's not overcomplicate this. It's point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center. When we look all through NBA history, through every single position, we can name greats of all different types of skill sets, whether they were great defensively or offensively, and we don't have to change their position to do so. When you look at Bill Russell, he was a great defender, struggled on the offensive end, wasn't a great offensive player. But there are other centers. When you go to Shaquille O'Neal, never looked at as a great or all-time great defensive center, but he was great offensively. But we don't create a new category because Shaq wanted to score, or because Shaq or Wilt Chamberlain scored a lot. We don't create a new hybrid category for centers because they scored a lot and because other centers were great defensively. Do we by that logic, we go by the traditional center logic, then that means Dwight Howard might be the second greatest center of all time. Ben Wallace ticket might have been right the whole time. Ben Wallace, as a traditional center, defending and getting stops, might be the third greatest center of all time by that logic. Because they did it the traditional way. They weren't out there scoring. So do we have to create these hybrid positions? Do we have to create these hybrid positions for any other position? Power forwards what makes some of the greatest power forwards? They can be great offensively or defensively. If you look at a guy like Chris Webber, who made the Hall of Fame because of his offensive prowess, he didn't play a lick of defense. The same with Charles Barkley. But we didn't create hybrid positions for any other position just because these guys could score. There are great power forwards who, like Tim Duncan, who were great defensively. We didn't create separate categories just because they were great on either side of the ball. We just stuck to who they were. If you look to small forwards, Dr. J was one of the greatest scoring small forwards of all time. But Pippen is one of the greatest defending small forwards of all time. But we don't create some hybrid category for Dr. J just because he could score. And the same with shooting guard. Joe Dumars, great defensively at the shooting guard position. But if you look at the traditional definition of what a shooting guard is, if you go to Google and type it in, a shooting guard is supposed to do all the scoring for the team. So by that definition, by the traditional definition, all of these shooting guards that don't do a heavy volume of scoring, we can't label them shooting guards, right? They can't. Joe Dumars can't be great, right? Tony Allen can't be a shooting guard as a defensive shooting guard because he was just a defender and he wasn't scoring all the time, right? By your logic is stupid. Steph is a point guard. Steph Curry has always been a point guard. And just because he does it a little different from Magic or some of these other guards of the past doesn't change the fact that he's still a point guard. And you guys create these weird combo hybrid narratives to eliminate him from that category. So what category do we put him in? Steph can't be an all-time great point guard. Well, he can't be. Do we say he's an all-time great shooting guard even though he's never played the shooting guard position? But we don't do that with any other position other than the point guard. And they only do it with the point. This only started happening when the likes of the Allen Iversons, the Steph Currys came about. The guards who could score and be the best hoopers on the team. We're talking about point guards who could be the best hoopers on the team. You even listen to how they slighted Isaiah Thomas to a certain degree. Remember, a lot of these guards, even John Stockton early in his career, scored more than he facilitated. It wasn't until he got more help at different positions that he became much more of a facilitator. This is why I always tell you guys a player's role on the team is defined by the personnel and the coach. The coach dictates all of these things. Steph Curry's a point guard. Just because he plays his role, facilitator does not make you a point guard. That's not what defines you, because we don't have these weird confines for any other position. Now, if these same guys are willing to tell me that they have these same hybrid positions for center or power forward or small forward, I'm fine with that. But they don't. There is no separate category for the bigs like Chris Webber and Charles Barkley that could score and couldn't defend. Because generally, traditionally, the bigs are supposed to defend, correct? Where do we put Bill Russell then? Where do we put Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain then? Wilt Chamberlain was primarily a scorer, put up some of the greatest scoring numbers of all time. So by default, is Wilt Chamberlain some hybrid shooting guard center who scores all the time? I never hear this. I only hear this logic when it comes to when you have to finally make the decision to bounce out one of these old head players of the past, and you have to now add in Steph Curry because of his sheer greatness. But they're willing to take players like Chris Paul, who Steph Curry has destroyed time and time again, and they're willing to even label a guy like Chris Paul as a better point guard than Steph Curry. For what? For what? He hasn't done at the point guard position. What Chris Paul needs to probably start taking notes from Steph. Because what Steph is doing at the point guard position in this era is working more than what Chris Paul is trying to do with this so-called traditional style. That traditional style is getting him bopped in the playoffs. It's getting him ran down for multiple 3-1 leads. Even when he's had great teams with the Clippers, with the Pelicans, with the Phoenix Suns. And he's getting ran down by the likes of players like Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Steph Currys and all these guys. But yet you're willing to label a guy like Chris Paul because he does it a traditional way in this era. Again, if you guys actually take note of how basketball has changed, positions and how positions are played generally change every 10 to 15 years because the styles of every era change. Magic Johnson and John Stockton had to redefine the point guard position in the 80s as we moved into a new era of basketball. Steph Curry and some of the guards we see of this era, as the game changes, rules change, when you talk about zones and things of that nature, forcing the game to be more perimeter oriented, especially scoring from the perimeter, high pick and rolls are needed. The guards have to have the ball more. You cannot dump it into the post more, primarily because of the man-to-man matchup zones. The game changed, so players changed. But you guys knock Steph Curry and eliminate him from an entire category simply because he's adjusted to how the game's changed, and not just adjusted to how the game's changed, had a high level of success in that change. There's a reason why people say Magic Johnson changed the game, because we hadn't seen a point guard do what he does. But see, the problem is you guys are stuck with what you saw from Magic. Magic took his best skill sets and used them to win. Magic was not a high-level great scorer like Steph Curry. But what he did was he took his best attributes and said, even though I'm not the greatest three-point shooter, I'm not the greatest scorer, even though he could score at times, my best attribute is passing and facilitating. So I'm going to find a way to use my size and height to capitalize on this. And I'm going to change the game. Steph Curry, as we shift into this era, the game is shifted to the perimeter. Perimeter players need to score more. I need to find ways to be more effective on the perimeter, because with these zones, it's going to make it tougher for me as a smaller guard to get into the lane and do all of this extra stuff, even though people have this weird oddball narrative that you could just walk into the lane and score layups. It is just not that sweet, but those are the lies that they will tell you. Stop trying to slight the players of this era like Steph Curry and Russell Westbrook. It's okay to take a look at the film and say, damn, Russ did do it a little better. Russ was a little bit more dynamic. But let's not act like you guys play 2K all day and you're telling us about these hybrid positions that only exist in video games but not in real life. Let's not overcomplicate the game of basketball with these combo positions, which even they can't even define what a combo guard is truly, or these hybrid positions that they don't apply to any other position but the point guard position. At any other position, you can be whatever you want to be and still be great at your position. If you're a center, you could be great offensively and be labeled an all-time great center. If you're a center, you could be an all-time great defender and still be labeled an all-time great defender. Same with power forward. And on down, small forward, the same thing. I can give you multiple examples. But yet, because Steph Curry is a great scorer, and he doesn't do it like Stockton and Magic, even though he does get a ton of assists like these guys, because he doesn't do it the way you want to see it done, like you saw it in these old, washed up, played out eras of basketball, because he doesn't do it like that, you can't label him a point guard. How about you give him the same credit that you gave Magic and just simply admit that he revolutionized the point guard position for this era, and he's still a point guard. And Russell Westbrook, you heard what he said on draft day, I'm a point guard. But he was going to do it his way, and he wasn't going to allow that old head thinking model to confine his game into just walking up the court and passing and facilitating and scoring when the ball hopefully gets back to him. Because y'all know that's not how it was done in the past, because we saw Stockton be a great scorer when needed. His game only changed when he got different personnel. We saw Isaiah Thomas in the playoffs. Isaiah Thomas in the playoffs did what? Focus more on scoring. That's why his scoring numbers went up in the playoffs and his assist numbers went down. When it mattered most, Isaiah Thomas became much more of a scorer, similar to that Steph Curry role. Oh, hold on. Y'all don't believe me? Let's go ahead and pull up the stats before we get up out of here. As you guys can clearly see, here are the playoff stats. Playoff stats. These are their playoff averages for Steph Curry and Isaiah Thomas. Remember, none of these guys called Isaiah Thomas any type of combo anything. They never called him a hybrid anything. But when playoff time came, Isaiah Thomas, 20 points a game. That's up from his regular season average. Assists per game, Isaiah Thomas, who usually averaged around 9 assists. In his best season, he averaged 13 assists. Oh, those assist numbers plummeted down to 8.9. Steph Curry, 6.2. about a 2 assist difference. 2 assists. So if they want to tell me that 2 to 3 assists is the only difference between what makes a player a point guard or not a point guard, then you'll be lying. Isaiah Thomas in the playoffs turned into a scorer, an attacker. He was trying to win. He wasn't about to sit there and facilitate and pass the ball around. Many people who watch that Pistons team will tell you that Joe Dumars, as a defender, was much more of the half-court facilitator for that team, as Isaiah Thomas was getting busy scoring the ball. Let's not allow people to lie and try to mix up the real facts about the game just to push certain narratives. And it sounds like the narrative here is to keep players like Russ, who's a top 75 player of all time, Steph Curry, who's a top 75 player all time, and they're trying to find ways to keep these players off of some of these lists. And the only thing they've done is filled this list with players of these old, washed up eras where nobody really watched Oscar play, but when we pull up the footage, he's walking up the court or half jogging up the court, dribbling with his right hand, doesn't look like he can cross over to his left, finishing with no contest at the rim, none of this. He's an under the rim player. He's barely getting above the ground, not athletic bone in his body, but you guys want to get me to believe that that man was a better basketball player than Russell Westbrook. Are you guys crazy? I think they think we dumb or something, man. The video footage exists. I really want Elder and some of these guys to sit down and watch the games with me. And I really want them to watch these games with me. And I really want them to honestly break some of these games down with me and then honestly tell me that they truly think that those guys did it much better than what we see today. When we say the game is bigger, faster, stronger, that's a fact. All you got to do is go watch. When people, especially old heads, try to say that no defense is being played in this era, okay, how about we go watch the defense in some of those older eras? Y'all, go back in this video. Go back to that clip of Oscar. I didn't see anybody clamping up or trying to play any lockdown defense. I didn't see anybody 7-footers contesting hard at the rim. I saw a whole bunch of under the basket, non-athletic players throwing shots up and throwing layups from under the rim. And it's really no shade to Oscar because he was great in his era. But I'm not about to lie to the people and say, oh, the difference between Oscar and Russ is Oscar didn't have a changeup. He couldn't slow down. What does that even mean? What do you mean he didn't have a changeup? He couldn't slow down. Oscar Robinson was already playing slow, it looked like. And that was defined as run and gun, what he was doing. He wasn't a slow down type of player. If he would have slowed down like his coaches would have asked him to, it would have looked even worse. People got to stop making up stuff about these positions just to keep players like Steph Curry and Russell Westbrook out of their list. This is how they try to be slick. Steph Curry belongs in the top 5 at a minimum on everybody's point guard all-time list. And the fact that TicketTV had to be the one to call him out on it, and then they try to use some fake narrative argument talking about Russ didn't have a changeup and couldn't slow down as the logic behind why Oscar did it better than Russ is stupid as hell. That's got to be one of the dumbest explanations. And the fact that they even said that, and I know for a fact that they didn't watch Oscar Robinson play, and they're going to lie. I know when this reaction comes out, a lot of people are going to say, oh, I watched Russ play. I was at that game. I did that. I watched so much film and footage. No, you didn't. Because the only thing that's going to happen with the more film and footage you watch from that era, the more film is going to make it worse. Because the more film you watch, you're going to be like, damn, players today are so much more elite than what I saw. And it's only gonna skew you towards one way. I'm willing to give Oscar a level of greatness in his own era against the competition that he played against, even though aesthetically it looked horrible. I'm still willing to give him the greatness. He still put up great numbers in his era. But you can't say Oscar can score 30 a game and still be a point guard, but when Steph scores, he can't be a point guard. Because there's many people of that same era say Oscar might have been one of the best shooters of that era. Had there been a three-point line adjusted, he would have been averaging 30 points a game his whole career. And so if there was a three-point line then, and many people of that time say Oscar was a good shooter, just because Oscar would have shot more threes than most people, would that eliminate him from being a point guard? Would you guys be willing to say that? No. Horrible logic. Just finding ways to eliminate players of this era from these lists. And what they're going to do is they're going to come back and say, oh, Steph is still great. Steph is all this. Steph, this is what they're going to say. We know Steph is one of the best to do it all. All right, if he is one of the best to do it all time, put him on your point guard list and give him this respect that he deserves. And stop coming up with these fake archetype categories that we only see on NBA 2K. And trying to throw them on these archetype lists that we know for a fact nobody's going to make a greatest combo guard list of all time. Nobody's going to make a greatest hybrid guard list of all time. The only thing that generally goes down on historically on some of these lists is point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center. Let's not try to erase history with your fake list and moving players from positions where you know they are, because you don't do it with any other position. So don't run around and try to do it with Steph Curry or Russell Westbrook. And like I said, the saddest thing about this is that one of the biggest shock jocks on YouTube, TicketTV, had to correct you on it. And then even when he corrected you on it, you came up with a brand new lie that I've absolutely never heard in basketball history to try to cover it up. It shouldn't take FYF Sports to call this nonsense out. Hey, but you know what? Much respect to Players Choice Podcast, man. They got a great channel over there. Again, anybody can get the max ether. I mean, obviously, I understand that there are agendas. We know Elder has an agenda to keep these old heads atop. Right? It seems like Chill is on that same agenda. It seems like the other guy on that over there is on that same agenda, because they all said they had the exact same 5. So they all must have went to the same Google list to get their same 5 or whatever. But times are changing. Steph Curry, his career will be over soon. And he will be on the top 5 of all of these point guard lists. You guys need to find a place for him now so you don't look dumb when he retires and you try to say he's only top 10, or you create some fake combo guard list that doesn't exist anywhere and try to put him on there by himself with some of these other guards like Allen Iverson. Stop doing that. But you guys, spam up the comments. Let me know what you think about this particular video. Again, like I said, Players Choice Podcast, man, great show. Great show, very entertaining, great takes all over the place. Again, everybody comes with illogical takes every now and then. But you know what? I would love to have Chill and Elder Rufus on the show to explain why they've come up with some mythical position categories for the point guard position, but they don't do it for any other position. I would respect it if they actually had hybrid positions for every position, not just point. I would respect it. They don't. They only do it to find ways to knock the great guards of this era, because this is a great guard-dominated era. It's just a sneaky way for them to lower these guys and not put them on the list. And they're elevating guys that they didn't even watch play themselves. That's a fact. And if they did watch them, I'm sure they forgot. Like I said, they don't believe. They wasn't sitting here remembering Oscar Robertson games from 1960 when they was probably 4 and 5 years old. Don't even let them tell you that lie. But hopefully we can have him on the panel. I would love to have Elder over here to talk about it, because it is complete cap, complete nonsense, complete buffoonery. Don't know where they get these takes from. I don't know what their hate for Steph Curry and some of the guards of this era are. I mean, I don't like Kyrie Irving, but when Kyrie Irving's done playing, he's going to go down as one of the best point guards of all time. Not these fake positions. You're not going to find too many guards more skilled than a Kyrie Irving. Don't make up a fake position just to put him at. And we know that none of these fake rankings for these fake positions exist. Just put him where he belongs. And I don't even like Kyrie. But we'll see if they change their tune. Hopefully we can get them on the panel to talk about it. Man, it's FYF Sports, man. Another great podcast episode. Man, you guys spam up the comments. Let me know your thoughts on this. Are they correct? Am I wrong? I don't care. However you want to slice it up. But we will be going live to talk about it. We will be going live to talk about this very topic. Because I think it's something that needs attention. Again, I'm just really tired of people throwing shade at players of this generation because they've been forced to do it differently because of the rule changes. That's all I got to say. It's funny that they're not listening to Jason. Jason Williams tells them these things all the time. And they don't listen to one of the only NBA guys that's on the panel. I don't get it. FYF Sports, man. It's been a great podcast episode, man. Make sure you guys sub up to the Spotify channel, man. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, Audible, anywhere where you listen to your podcast. Make sure you're following FYF Sports. Me and Abel Mahari of Mahari Nation Sports Podcast, where we're dropping episodes on there like no other. More than just basketball content. We're talking about baseball, football, boxing, MMA, you name it. It's on our daily commute show on Spotify. You don't want to miss that show. The podcast is blowing up over there. And again, lastly, I got to tell you guys, look, if you guys have any brands, clothing brands, anything that you want to promote, if you got your own business you want to promote, hit us up here at FYF Sports. On the email address is business@fyfsports.com. We'll let you know what our promotional fees are. But look, as the channel is growing, this will be a great opportunity for you to kind of showcase yourself, showcase your businesses, whatever you got. Even if you have a YouTube channel and you want to promote your own channel over here on FYF Sports, just let us know. Growing podcast, we're about to hit 50K. Catch us now where the prices are low, because I keep telling you guys, once we hit 100K, it ain't gonna be cheap no more. So hit us up here at FYF Sports, man. Hey, FYF Sports, man. It's been a great podcast episode. We will be back with more sports and news, but until then, it's FYF Sports. Yeah.
On up to your bullshit. Yeah, it's about that time. Damn, don't you look foolish? Cause you know, I know, you lying. Yeah, right, yeah, right, yeah, right, stop lying. Yeah, right, yeah, right, yeah, right, stop lying. Confrontation is the conversation. Your contact, erased it, can't take it, no patience. Major mistake is me believing in you and you say shit. I thought you changed, but since you can't, I can no longer take it. Go ahead and face it, plain and basic, different occasions. Gave you my trust and you apologizing and betrayed it. Shame on me for the repeat, I'm all out of favors, and nothing else can save you. Guessing you missing integrity, still gotta focus on what's in their head of me. Great understanding of me as a whole, probably one of the reasons you scared of me. Fictional telling me, stupid expecting me, thinking that I'm a believer, what I'm not believing, excuse me. I'm sorry, I abruptly beg your pardon. On up to your bullshit. Yeah, it's about that time. Damn, don't you look foolish? Cause you know, I know, you lying. Yeah, right, yeah, right, yeah, right, stop lying. Yeah, right, yeah, right, yeah, right, stop lying. Relentless self, inevitable that I win. Never say never again. Though a facade is the way to pretend. Never be basic again. A stage ain't for the faint-hearted. Processed it all, but I ain't bought it. But thank God I can thank God. Fell in a miserable state. When know when you fuck with them, look in your face. Wake up alone when the weather get lonely, and you be the only one that you can blame. Shit ain't the same as though when it was plain. Focus and aim and go hard in the pain. Fuck who it can't affect when you grind it. I own the prize and you roar like a lion. Soar like an eagle without all the lion. Trying to be something you not. I say I got, you say you got. I say I'm not, you say you tried. If it happened to me, then it happened to you, or someone you know, or someone you fuck with. A lot of shit looking counterfeit. You no longer someone I fuck with. On up to your bullshit. Yeah, it's about that time. Damn, don't you look foolish? Cause you know, I know, you lying. Yeah, right, yeah, right, yeah, right, stop lying. Yeah, right, yeah, right, yeah, right, stop on everything that I love, everything that I love, on everything that I love, man, I had enough, stop on everything that I love, everything that I love, on everything that I love, man, I had enough, on up to your bullshit, yeah, it's about that time, damn, don't you look foolish, cause you know, I know, you lying. Yeah, right, yeah, right, yeah, right, stop lying. Yeah, right, yeah, right, yeah, right, stop lying.